Do not look for the machine. Look for the question that made him draw it. Welcome, travelers. I am Professor Kairos Chronopóros. Follow me through the past, the present, and the future to uncover the people, places, stories, and ideas that changed time itself. They will not see me, but you will. Time is no longer something we watch from afar. We cross it. And now, travelers, follow me. The next episode is already opening. Welcome to Leonardo's workshop. His genius was boundless. His sketches reveal ideas far ahead of his time. This is where time and invention converge, and this compass guides us through it all. It hides abandoned panels, failed experiments, unfinished commissions, and pages nobody around him could fully use. So we will not worship the myth. We will watch the method. His true instrument was not the brush, scalpel, or gear. It was attention. He crossed painting, anatomy, water, flight, mechanics, and emotion without asking permission. To Leonardo, nature was not divided into subjects. It was one moving system. Come closer. Florence is opening, and a young apprentice is learning how to see. Look carefully. In Verrocchio's workshop, painting, sculpture, metalwork, wood, and pigment shared the same room. Leonardo learnt by watching every material behave. The baptism of Christ is attributed to Verrocchio, Leonardo, and other hands. The story of a master defeated by his pupil came later. Before Florence, there are fields, streams, stone, weather, animals, and the patient education of looking. Water bends around roots. Light changes across hills. A bird corrects itself in the wind. None of this makes him Leonardo yet, but it gives his curiosity a landscape. In Verrocchio's workshop, art is not solitary inspiration. It is organized labor. Pigment is ground, clay is modeled, metal is hammered, panels are prepared. An image depends on chemistry, carpentry, anatomy, and many disciplined hands. The baptism of Christ is collaborative work, not a duel between master and miraculous pupil. The story that Verrocchio abandoned painting in defeat? Beautiful drama, not secure evidence. Commissioned in 1481, Leonardo's Adoration of the Magi remained unfinished when he left Florence. The painting stopped, but the thinking remained visible. Some figures are barely sketched, others are developed further. Revision remains exposed, decisions that a finished surface would normally conceal. Leonardo's early figures begin to breathe inside landscapes. Air and distance enter the painting. Nature is not placed behind the subject, it begins to shape the subject's presence. The Adoration becomes a field of bodies, gestures, architecture, horses, and competing ideas. Some faces emerges, others remain only pressure beneath the surface. The unfinished surface exposes searching lines, altered positions, and ideas competing for space. Here, incompleteness is not emptiness. It is proof that thought is still in motion. But Florence cannot contain every ambition. Leonardo turns toward a more demanding court. Milan offers power, engineering, spectacle, and the chance to invent a new version of himself. Before he mentions painting, Leonardo offers bridges, fortifications, weapons, and waterworks. But the surviving letter is a draft. Its delivery remains uncertain. For Francesco Sforza, Leonardo studied a monument on an impossible scale. Years of preparation followed, but the colossal horse was never cast in bronze. Leonardo presents bridges, fortifications, weapons, and waterworks before he finally mentions painting. This is not a confession. It is a strategic performance written for a ruler. At court, intelligence must be useful, impressive, and visible before a patron loses interest. Festivals, costumes, mechanisms, spaces, the court becomes another laboratory. For the Sforza monument, he studies a colossal horse at the scale of anatomy and industry. The studies survive. The finished bronze never exists. Extraordinary preparation meets political interruption, material limits, and another unfinished form. Then a monastery wall offers one of the most dangerous opportunities of his life. Here, Leonardo would attempt the impossible, a mural that would change art forever. One sentence breaks the table into waves of reaction. At the center, Christ remains still, and Leonardo transforms movement into structure. Leonardo painted slowly on a dry, prepared wall, not true fresco. The freedom to revise became the wound. Deterioration began early. Leonardo chooses the instant after Christ announces betrayal. The sentence is invisible, but a shock travels through hands, shoulders, faces, and distance. The apostles react in groups, each response colliding with another. Around him, every body breaks into motion. At the center, stillness becomes authority. Leonardo wants panel-like control, so he works slowly on a dry, prepared wall. The freedom permits revision, subtle color, and dangerously fragile layers. The same choice that creates the image also begins its deterioration. Here, years later, the mural shows early signs of dulling and pigment loss. The masterpiece and the wound arise from the same refusal to use an ordinary method. Here, Leonardo's vision transforms the ordinary into the eternal. Now the applause disappears. Only oil light, instruments, paper, and the difficult silence of anatomical investigation. These pages combine direct observation with inherited errors. Most will never become published anatomical treatises. Now the applause disappears. Oil light, instruments, paper, and the silence of dissection. Leonardo enters the body as though entering a building. He dissects and diagrams with architectural precision. A mind ahead of its time. He draws the skull in section, muscles in layers, bones under tension, the heart in motion. Drawing becomes a tool for thinking, not decoration. He changes scale, separates structures, compares views, and asks what each part actually does. This method revolutionized our understanding of anatomy. Some observations are brilliant. Others remain limited by the knowledge and specimens available. This is not modern medicine arriving early. It is investigation pushing against its century. Most studies remain unpublished. Discovery happens, but does not become shared knowledge. For Leonardo, muscles, water, wings, and gears are not separate subjects. They are different forms of motion. He tests perpetual motion, then accepts the harder conclusion. No machine can create endless movement from nothing. Water curls around stone. Leonardo finds its motion everywhere. He watches birds because flight can be studied as balance, resistance, weight, and air. His flying machines are questions built from wood, cloth, rope, and analogy. They are not proven aircraft. Many were never built. Some could not work as imagined. Failure can still reveal a force the mind has finally learned to see. Gears, pumps, locks, carts, weapons, theaters, each page tests motion against material. He studies perpetual motion, then recognizes that the promise cannot be fulfilled. The wheel slows and stops, showing the design's limits. Even genius must bow to physics. The notebook is the real engine: observation, error, image, calculation, and doubt. Florence gives Leonardo another wall. The Battle of Anghiari remains unfinished, but its surviving studies preserve the violence of the idea. Back in Florence, another enormous wall is waiting. The Battle of Anghiari becomes a knot of animals, bodies, fear, and muscular force. The mural never reaches completion. The studies preserve the violence of its idea. A quieter image travels with him. The Mona Lisa, built from thin glazes and edges that seem to breathe. Nearby, a portrait develops through layers so thin that hard edges begin to disappear. Sfumato is more than painted haze covering a face. Vision receives transitions, atmosphere, and uncertainty, not perfect outlines. Leonardo keeps revising. The portrait travels with him instead of remaining in Florence. The finished image still behaves like an unfinished question. Stable, yet never entirely closed. Leonardo crossed into his final chapter, not as an exile, but as the honored guest of Francis I. In France, age slows Leonardo's hand, but not the movement between his subjects. He brings paintings, drawings, instruments, and decades of questions into his final rooms. He died at Clos-Lucé on 2 May 1519. Francis was elsewhere. The celebrated final embrace belongs to legend. What Leonardo leaves behind is not one finished system, but paintings, notebooks, questions, and methods still moving beyond this room. What survives is scattered. Paintings, damaged walls, unfinished panels, and extraordinary drawings. Together, the fragments reveal a method more important than any single machine. And now, follow me. Look longer. Cross boundaries. Distrust the answer that arrives too easily. Leonardo's greatest invention may have been permission to let one subject become another. Follow me. More minds and hidden stories are waiting. The next door is already opening.